You spend 6 months building a home lab and you got your Security Plus, maybe your CEH. You got projects on GitHub. You applied for roles and you made it to the interview. And then they ask you one question. 6 words, walk me through your home lab. And your mind goes completely blank. Here's what nobody tells you when you're studying for your certs and building your lab. Building something and talking about it under pressure are completely different skills. I've sat across the table from candidates who built incredible environments, real, complex, technically impressive setups, and they couldn't explain what they did and why they did it. Not because they did it, because they never practiced saying it out loud. And here's the other side. I've also seen candidates with basic labs, modest CVs, no degree, no traditional background, who walked in, communicated clearly, showed their thinking, and got the job. Talking about your work is the interview, and most people prepare for everything except that. This video fixes that. Whether your career changing from another field, whether you've been in the industry for a year, whether you've been rejected before and can't figure out why, this is your prep session. We're doing this together. In this video, I'm going to run you through the exact questions hiring managers ask, and I'm going to give you the answers that work. We're covering things like how to walk through your home lab and your GitHub without freezing, the 3-part answer framework every good candidate uses instinctively, technical questions across SOC, GRC, and cloud security, what to do when you genuinely don't know the answer, the behavioral questions that eliminate more candidates than any technical test, how to talk about salary without killing the offer, and the questions you should be asking the interview. Treat this like a real interview. After each question, pause the video and answer it to yourself before I show you. That active practice is worth more than just watching. Ready? Okay, let's go. Before the questions, you need one thing: framework for answering. Because the difference between a forgettable answer and one that gets you hired isn't knowledge, it's structure. Every answer you give should hit 3 beats. Action, what did you do? Specific, not I set up a lab. Name the tools, name the steps. Proof, where's the evidence? Your GitHub, your documentation, your notes, something real you can point to. Impact, why does it matter? What security problem did you solve? What did you learn? How does it connect to the real world? Most candidates only give you action. They describe what they did. That's a fact. Facts are gettable. When you add proof and impact, you're telling a story. Stories get you hired. I'll show you exactly how to apply this to every question we're about to cover. Now, let's dive in. Question number 1. Walk me through your home lab. Now, guys, pause the video. 30 seconds. Answer this question right now as if you are in the real interview. Go. Here's what most people say, and that is the bad answer. I built a home lab, VirtualBox, and Kali, and a Windows VM, and practice some stuff. That tells me nothing. What stuff? Why? What problem were you trying to solve? You've described a box with a software in it, not a security environment. Here's what gets you hired. The good answer looks like that. I designed a security operations lab to simulate a real SOC environment. I'm running 4 machines in VirtualBox, a Kali attack box, a Windows 10 endpoint, a Bazoo SIM, and a pfSense firewall. My goal was to understand the full detection lifecycle: attack, log, detect, and respond. I configured Bazoo to ingest Windows event logs, wrote 15 custom detection rules targeting brute force authentication, lateral movement via PS exec, and suspicious PowerShell execution. Then I used Kali to actually run those attacks against the Windows machine to validate that my rules fired correctly. Everything is documented on GitHub. Network diagrams, rule files, screenshots of the alerts triggering. The biggest lesson? A real SIM is incredibly noisy. I had to tune out hundreds of false positives to surface genuine detections. That tuning process, understanding what noise looked like versus what a real alerts look like. That's the skill I didn't see written anywhere. I had to learn it by doing it. Now, action, specific tools, specific configuration. The proof is GitHub. Impact, learning about false positive tuning, which any SOC hiring manager will recognize as a real daily challenge. The answer is 60 seconds. It's not a lecture. It's a story. If you're watching this and you don't have a lab yet, that's okay. You can't give this answer today, but I want you to understand exactly why this answer works, so you know what you're building toward. My free Home Lab series shows you how to build exactly this setup from scratch. Link in the description. Build it, then come back and practice this answer. Question number 2. Can you show me one of your projects? The screen share is where candidates fall apart. You're fumbling with tabs, you can't find the right repo, you're narrating random code you half remember writing 3 months ago. Here's the formula. 5 steps every single time. Step 1. Start with the problem, not the code. This project exists because I wanted to understand X. Security problem I was solving was Y. Step 2. Show the README first. Your README is your elevator pitch. What does it do? What's the architecture? How do you deploy it? If your README is empty, fix it before any interview. It's your first impression. Step number 3. Walk the architecture. Show a diagram if you have one. If not, describe the components. Here's the detection script. Here's the SIM config. Here's how they connect. Step 4. Open one file and explain a decision. Don't scroll through everything. Pick the most interesting piece, show a specific function or a rule. Explain why you built it that way. I chose this approach because, and then end the sentence. Step 5. End it with what you would improve. If I built this again, I'd add automated testing or I'd implement a CI/CD pipeline to scan for misconfigurations before the deployment. This shows self-awareness, and interviewers love it. Let me show you what this looks like live. Now, practice this at home. Open your GitHub, set a 2-minute timer. Talk through your project as if someone is watching. Record yourself on your phone. Are you starting with a problem? Are you explaining decisions or just describing what's there? 2 practice runs and you'll be more polished than 90% of the candidates. Most people never do this. That's your advantage. Now, let's dive in the role-specific questions. SOC analyst questions. What happens when you type in google.com in your browser? Classic. They're not testing your networking degree. They're seeing how you think from end to end and whether you connect technical processes to security implications. The better answer is your computer connects to Google's server and loads the page. While the good answer looks like this. First, your browser checks its local cache and the OS host's file. If no IP is found, it queries your configured DNS resolver. That resolver works up through the chain until it hits an authoritative name server for google.com and it returns the IP address. Your browser initiates a 3-way TCP handshake to port 443. Once the connection is established, a TLS handshake negotiates the encryption. Server sends a certificate Your browser validates it against trusted CAs, and symmetric session key is derived. Your browser sends an HTTP GET request. Google's CDN responds with HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Your browser renders the page. From a security perspective, this entire flow is where your DNS security matters. DNSSEC, encrypted DNS. The TLS layer is where certificate pinning and certificate transparency logs matter. And at the browser level, your CSP headers and CORS policies control what resources can load. Every layer has a security story. The security angle at the end is what makes this answer stand out in a cybersecurity interview. You're not just reciting networking. You're connecting it to what the interviewer actually cares about. Now, question number 4. You're a SOC analyst. You get an alert. Suspicious PowerShell execution on endpoint. Walk me through your response. Now, this is a live simulation question. They're watching how your brain works under pressure, not checking if you memorized the framework. Now, the common bad answer is, I would investigate the alert and escalate it if needed. Now, how the real answer should look like. First, I would triage the alert. What did the PowerShell command actually execute? I'd pull the full command line from the SIM, look for encoded commands, web requests, or execution policy bypasses. Those are your immediate red flags. Next, I would check the parent processes. Legitimate PowerShell usually spawns from explorer.exe or task scheduler. If it's spawning from Word, Outlook, or a browser, then it's a potential phishing indicator, and I would escalate it immediately. Upon the user and host context. Is this a known admin doing legitimate work? Is this an unusual time of the day? Is there any unusual activity from the same host in the past 24 hours? If the command downloaded anything or made an outbound connection, I want to check the destination IPs and domains against threat intel feeds. At that point, based on what I found, I did a close a false positive with documentation, escalated to tier 2 for incident response, or isolate the endpoint if I believe there's active compromise. I would document everything as I go, every action, every finding, not just for current incident, for post-incident review. Now, this is a structured walk through a real mental model. You're showing you think in layers: alert, context, parent process, lateral movement, and escalation decision. That's the process a real SOC analyst uses. Let's look at GRC analyst questions. Explain the CIA triad to a non-technical board member. It's a simple question. Wrong answer kills your chances. They're testing your communication, not your knowledge. A bad answer will look like this. Confidentiality means data is kept secret. Integrity means it's not changed. And availability means the system is up. No. The good answer will look like this. Think of it like a bank vault. Confidentiality means only the right people can open it. That's your access controls and encryption. Integrity means nobody has tampered with what's inside. We use checksums and audit logs to detect any change to the contents. Availability means that the vault door actually opens when you need it to. That's your backups, redundancy, and disaster recovery planning. Every security decision we make as a business is about protecting one or more of these 3 things. When we talk about data breach, that's confidentiality failure. When we talk about ransomware, that's an availability failure. When we talk about invoice frauds, that's an integrity failure. Analogy-based answers show you can translate technical concepts into business language. In GRC roles especially, this communication skill is more valued than deep technical knowledge. Question 6. What's the difference between a risk assessment and a risk treatment plan? Anyone applying for GRC roles who can't answer this clearly will not get the job. A good answer should look like this. The risk assessment identifies and evaluates risks. You're asking what could go wrong, how likely is it, and what's the potential impact. You end up with a risk register. A risk treatment plan is what you decide to do about those risks. Your 4 options are mitigate, accept, transfer, or even avoid. For each risk, you are selecting a treatment and assigning ownership, a timeline, and a success criteria. You got to have a meaningful treatment plan without a solid assessment. And an assessment without a treatment plan is just a document that sits on a shelf. The two work together. Assess first, treat second, review regularly. Let's dive into some cloud security questions. How would you secure a new AWS account from scratch? A typical bad answer will look like this. I would set up a firewall and make sure everything is encrypted. Now, the good approach is something like that. I'd approach it in 5 layers. First, identity. Enable MFA on the root account and lock it away and never use it again. Create an individual IAM users with least privilege policies. Use IAM roles for service access. Never hard code credentials. Second, logging. Enable CrowdTrail in all regions. Every API call log. Store logs in a dedicated S3 bucket with versioning and optional object lock enabled. So logs can't be deleted or altered. Third, networking. Build a VPC with proper subnet segmentation. Private subnets for databases and sensitive workloads. Security groups locked down to a minimum required ports. No 000 inbound rules ever. Fourth, monitoring. Guard duty on from day one for threat detection. AWS config for continuous compliance checking. Security hub to aggregate findings. Set up alerting so you know the moment something changes. And fifth, automation. Terraform or CloudFormation to define all of this as code. Infrastructure as code means it's repeatable, reviewable, and version control. No Snowflake accounts. Actually, I built this setup in my home lab. It's on my GitHub with the Terraform modules if you like to see it. That last sentence, that's the killer move. You answered the question and referenced proof. The interviewer is not going to ask to see it. You've led them exactly where you want them. At some point in every interview, they'll ask something you don't know. This is intentional. Experienced interviewers do this on purpose to see how you behave under uncertainty. Most candidates do one of two things. Bluffer normally speaks confidently about something they're guessing. The interviewer knows within 10 seconds. Everything else you said is now questioned. The freezer goes silent, says I'm not sure, and waits for a rescue. The interviewer sees someone who shuts down under pressure. Here's what a professional does in 3 steps. Number 1, acknowledge honestly, short, direct. I haven't worked with that specific tool directly. No shame, no over-explaining. Number 2, bridge what you do know. But I've worked with something similar, tool, a concept, so understand the underlying principle. Number 3, show your learning method. If I needed to get up to speed, I would start with official documentation and build a small test environment. That's exactly how I taught myself. Share something from your portfolio. Let me show you this live. Interviewer, have you used Splunk for threat detection? You've never touched Splunk. So there's how you answer that question. I haven't used Splunk directly. In my home lab, I built a detection capability on Wazoo, which I chose because of the open source cost model and the strong community documentation. The core concepts, log ingestion, field extraction, correlation rules, and alert-based detection are fundamentally the same across SIEM platforms. If this role requires Splunk, I would start with Splunk's free training and spin up a trial environment. That's how I taught myself Wazoo in about 2 weeks. Documentation first, then hands-on, then build something real. Why is that better than yes, I've used Splunk a bit? Because it demonstrates methodology. You showed them how you learn, and how you learn is a better predictor of job performance than what you currently know. Most tools you'll encounter on the job were tools you didn't know before you started. As a hiring manager, I'd rather have someone who says, I don't know, but here's exactly how I would figure it out, or with someone who bluffs every single time. There's no question there. Number 8, tell me about a time you solved difficult technical problem. This eliminates more candidates than any technical question because most people give vague, forgettable answers. Use this structure: situation, complication, action, and result. Now, a better answer would look like this. I had a problem with my lab once, and I figured it out after some research. Now, a good answer is, when I was building my SIEM environment, my Wazoo server was receiving logs from the Windows endpoint, but none of my custom detection rules were firing. Even when I ran attacks that should have triggered them, I spent 2 hours troubleshooting, checked rule syntax, verified the log ingestion pipeline was running, tested with manually crafted log samples. Eventually, I isolated the issue. The field names in the Windows event logs didn't match the field name my detection rules expected. Was always receiving the data, but the rules couldn't match against it. If I had to write a custom decoder to map the field names correctly, once I deployed the decoder, all 15 rules fired as expected. The lesson: you can write perfect detection rules and still have zero detections if you don't understand log normalization. I didn't understand that before this problem. I absolutely do now. And the decoder and documentation are on my GitHub if you want to see how it's solved. That's real, specific, and it shows problem-solving methodology, shows persistence, shows self-directed learning, and ends with a reference to proof. That's a 2-minute story that an interviewer will still be thinking about a week later. Now, that's a big one. Question 9, why cybersecurity? Especially coming from your background. This is a career changer question, and it's the one where most people either give a boring answer or accidentally undersell the experience they bring in from their previous career. A better answer looks like this: I like tech, and cybersecurity pays well. Now, the good answer is, the thing that pulled me into cybersecurity wasn't the technology. It was, and then you can insert a specific moment, a breach that you read about, a vulnerability you noticed, a conversation you might have had. That's when I realized this field is about protecting real things, people's data, businesses, and critical infrastructure. From my background, insert your previous role, I already know a specific transferable skills such as, risk thinking, process documentation, stakeholder communication, attention to detail, investigation. It could be anything. But cybersecurity is the field where those skills have real consequences. So I didn't just decide to pivot and hope for the best. I built a lab. I earned insert your certificates. I published insert your projects. I wanted to prove to myself and to you, this is where I'm going, not where I'm hoping to go. Your background isn't a liability. It's differentiation. The candidate who was a nurse understands healthcare data sensitivity better than most security engineers. The former finance person understands fraud and risk controls. Frame what you break. Don't apologize for what you don't have. Now, question number 10. Where do you see yourself in 3 years' time? They're checking whether you have ambition, whether you have direction, and whether this role fits into a logical trajectory. It's not a sure. For example, I'm not sure is a failing answer. A good answer would look like this. In 3 years, I want to have gone deep in a specific domain, such as, detection engineering, cloud security, whatever it might be. I want to have led at least one significant project, built something, fixed something, improved something measurable. And I want to be the person on the team that juniors come to when they're stuck. This role interests me specifically because genuine specific reason. It feels like the right first step towards that picture. Now, question number 11. Do you have any questions for us? And remember, never say never. This is your last chance to be memorable. Ask 2 questions maximum. Quality over quantity. For example, what does success actually look like in this role in the first 90 days? What would you tell me that you hired the right? How would you know that you hired the right person? What's the biggest security challenge your team is navigating right now? How does security team measure impact? What metrics matter to the leadership? What would you say is the biggest gap in the team's current capability that is the role meant to address? The last question is really bold. Some interviewers love it. It shows you're already thinking about how to contribute, not just how to survive probation. Next is the salary conversation. This section does not appear in most interview prep videos, but it should, because how you handle the compensation conversation can add or lose you tens of thousands of pounds per year. Here are the rules. Rule number 1. Never be the first to name a number if you can avoid it. I'm more interested in understanding the full scope of the role before discussing the compensation. Could you share what the budgeted range is for this position? Rule number 2. Know your market rate before the interview. Use LinkedIn Salary, Glassdoor, and communities like CISO Collective or UK Cybersecurity forums. Know the range for your target role, location, and experience level. Rule number 3. When asked directly, give a range, not a number. The bottom of your range should be what you would accept. The top should be ambitious but credible. For example, I'm targeting 45 to 55K, depending on a full package. Rule number 4. Include total compensation in the conversation. Pension, bonus structure, training budget, exam reimbursements, remote flexibility. These have a real monetary value. 45K role with a 3K training budget and 30 days holiday beats a 47K role without it. Rule number 5. Don't apologize for asking. Confidence here signals confidence in the role. Awkward hesitation suggests you're not sure you deserve what you are asking for. And if they make an offer below your range, here's how the answer looks like. I'm genuinely excited about this opportunity, and I'd love to make it work. Office is slightly below where I was targeting. I was expecting something closer to X. Is there any flexibility, or are there any other parts of the package we could look at? That's professional, positive, and direct. You're not issuing an ultimatum. You're opening a conversation. Most people never ask. Most employers have flexibility. So therefore, make sure you ask. Now, your 7-day interview prep plan will look like this. You have the framework, you have the answers. Now you need to internalize them. Here's your 7-day plan. Days 1 to 2, write your answers. For every question in this video, write out your answer in a bullet point form. Don't memorize the scripts. Memorize the structure, action, proof, impact for every technical answer. Situation, complication, action, and result for every behavioral answer. If you don't have a home lab or GitHub yet, day 1 is also when you start the lab build. Links are in the description. Day 3, home lab and GitHub walkthrough. Open your GitHub repo, set a 2-minute timer. Talk through your best project. Ask if an interviewer is watching. Record yourself on your phone. Watch it back without looking away. Are you starting with a problem? Do you explain the decisions? Are you actually showing anything or just vague gesturing? Fix whatever made you uncomfortable. Day 4, screen share practice. Repeat day 3, but this time share your screen and record the screen capture too. Practice the 5-step formula. Problem, README, architecture, one file, what you would improve, and do it twice. Day 5, I don't know scenarios. Find a friend, a colleague, or record yourself. Go through a list of cybersecurity tools you haven't used. For each one, acknowledge, bridge, and show the learning method. The goal is for this to feel completely natural, not rehearsed. Day 6, full mock interview. All questions, full simulation, time each answer. Aim for 60 to 90 seconds per technical answer. Up to 2 minutes for problem-solving story. Record it, watch it back. If you don't have someone to run mock with, sit in front of your phone, camera alone. It's uncomfortable, and that's the point. The discomfort in practice is how you avoid it in the real thing. Day 7, refine and rest. Watch your day 6 recording. Fix the 2 or 3 things that bothered you the most. Practice those answers 2 more times, then stop. Seriously, you're ready. More drilling at this point creates anxiety, not improvement. 7 days, 1 to 2 hours per day, that's 14 hours maximum. That's the difference between the candidate who gets the job and the candidate who wonders why they didn't. You now have the exact framework, the real questions, the answer that work, and a 7-day plan. But I want to say one more thing. And this is specifically for the career changers watching this video. The gatekeeping in this industry is real. People will tell you that you need a degree, that you need to have started in IT at 18, that you need 5 years worth of experience for a junior role. That's just noise. What you need is evidence that you can do the work. A home lab is evidence. A GitHub is evidence. Knowing how to explain what you build clearly and confidently, that's evidence too. That's what this video was about. The interview is not the obstacle. Lack of preparation is. You addressed that today. Now do the work this week. Drop a comment. What's the interview question that scares you the most? I'm going to pick the top questions from the comments and film a follow-up answering them live. That's not a throwaway promise. I read every comment. If this changed how you think about interviews, please hit like. If it's the single thing that helps this reach more people who actually need it. If you haven't built your home lab yet, my SOAP Analyst, GRC, and Cloud Security blueprints are linked in the description. Those give you the projects. This video taught you how to defend. Subscribe because this is part of the complete system. Roadmaps, technical skills, AI security, interview prep, all connected, all free. And I'll see you in the next video. Take care.